The French were greatly annoyed at the fact that English were meddling in their war against Austria, and so they mounted an effort to reestablish the Stuarts in Scotland and in England. And this devolved upon the grandson of James II. He'd been deposed in the Glorious Revolution, and his son, the French had sponsored a rebellion to get him back on the throne in 1715, I guess it was, 1415, just after the Hanovers came to power. Well, that was squelched. That didn't go anywhere. But now in 45, they tried it again with Charles Edward Stuart. Charles Edward was, I think, 20-something. He was very pretty and very dumb and perfect leader of men. He was at the head of a French expeditionary force which sort of fell apart before they reached Scotland. It takes some doing getting from Dover. But anyway, they finally landed in Scotland, and the lairds who finally met him, all right, fine, he was accepted as the chosen leader in the revival of the Stuart kingdom, and by the time he reached central Scotland, he had quite a gathering, and pretty soon all the lairds began to gather around, the clans and all the rest. What they wanted was a fight. So they mounted their effort, and they invaded England. A huge mass of Scots. And they drove down the west coast. And they made it nearly to Oxford. For God's sake. On a good clear day, you could see them from London. Panic in the streets. Well, by that time, the Scots were so badly disorganized. They were worrying about their supply lines, and they were fighting over the leadership, and Prince Charles was hardly a man who could bring everybody together under one sword. And so they decided they should retreat while they were still able to. And they began to retreat. Well, of course, London wasn't sitting around with their eyes closed. The King's government had ordered the Duke of Cumberland, this is the King's brother, to march north directly and encounter the Scots as they were reaching their own borders and then deal with them. And they did. There were several battles culminating in the Battle of Culloden, which was an absolute massacre of the Scots. And of course, the Duke of Cumberland was always known as Butcher Cumberland after that. The Scots were then deprived of their use of their tartans or their clans, and all the rest of it was dismantled, and the Scots from that day to this have hated the English even more.